Good evening, everyone, and welcome live on the World Racing Network to tonight's presentation of the Total Nonstop Racing Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Care Service. Tonight is the Tabletop Trio 150 here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll talk more about tonight's race sponsor in just a moment, getting our pre-race show kicked off. I'm Mitchell Adams, joined by my broadcast partner this season, Garrett Gleason. Garrett, we were talking pre-race. It's been quite a while since you and I have called a race together, but we have done it, so we'll be knocking the rust off together here. We got 100 laps to do it at Atlanta.
Yeah, Mitchell, it's great to be here, and it's better for me to have to knock the rust off out here in the booth and not down there on the track with these guys, but what a talented field, back for another season here at Total Nonstop Racing. And for some reason, there must be a shortage of color commentators out there, because this is the second company that's hired me to do broadcasts.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just something about you, Garrett. You know, benefit of the doubt. Maybe people like your content. I'm not saying that, but you can look at it that way if it makes you feel better about yourself. But no, I'm glad to be back here on the World Racing Network. This is the first time we've had TNR Grand National Series coverage. I think we filled in one race last season, but glad to have TNR on board with us at the World Racing Network this season. I know, taking it over from 3 Wide TV. They've been longtime partners with you guys, and I've worked with Peter. You've worked with Peter over there, so very thankful to him for covering the series for so long, and we're looking forward to taking over the reins this season with it.
Yeah, a whole new experience here, and can't say enough about what a great job Peter and Bob did. 3 Wide TV, Carlos a couple times producing for us. Just an incredible experience, incredible partnership, and I certainly look forward to working with them again. But I also look forward to being here on WRN and seeing that number 33 of Peter Short making some starts this year when his work schedule permits. Seeing him back in the field is going to be worth it. We have Bob out there full time now. I'm filling in the booth, and just seeing these guys race for after all the hours they put in doing commentary, it makes me feel good, Mitchell.
Yeah, I can speak from experience too. Once you, and you can as well, when you hop out of the booth and get back on track every once in a while, it's very fun. So glad to see Bob Giaquinto's out there on track tonight, and Peter, like you said, should be joining us throughout the season. We've got about 2 minutes left in practice here. This is Atlanta Motor Speedway, the recently repaved Atlanta Motor Speedway. This is, I think they did this just last season for NASCAR, so 2022, brand new racing surface, and this track puts on a show, Garrett. It's just like a Daytona or Talladega. Can expect the 2 and 3 wide racing all night long. It's going to be a really good one for all the fans out there tonight.
Well, I'm hoping not to see 3 wide all night long, Mitchell, even though that would probably make for a great broadcast. This track is much more narrow than the Daytona or Talladega, at least from my experience on the track earlier, which was my first laps out here. And that wall sneaks up on you more than you would expect. The old Atlanta, you see guys right up against that wall running different lines. Here, I think you're going to have to be careful. It gets very narrow coming through the tri-oval, and it gets very narrow on some of these corners. So when you make your move, make sure you calculate it, because you could run out of space real quick out there.
Yeah, and you see here the number, I believe this is the 46. It's showing up 22 on the track. That was J.D. Laird. The fastest car in practice is the number 5 of Bill Edwards. Not an unfamiliar face to all the TNR fans out there. And that number 50 machine always brings good paint schemes. I don't know if this is a new one or not for Bill, but certainly looking good out on top of the speed charts. We got about 30 seconds left in practice. We'll go quickly through the practice time speeds here. Again, Bill Edwards fastest on the speed chart. Then it's Mike Floppy Tellier in second. David Durand in third place. A nice little Jeff Gordon throwback there. I like that car a lot he's got going on.
Yeah, real good-looking car. And Bill Edwards was supposed to be number 5 this season, and I see he's running the 50 paint scheme still. So, of course, Bill's a liar. What else is new? Whether I'm on 3 Wide TV or WRN, Bill just makes a mockery out of it. So, no surprise. Let's not talk about him anymore.
Johnny Williams out in the chat saying good luck all, and hello to the booth. Hello, Johnny. Glad to have you tuning in here tonight as practice getting wrapped up, and we are set to go qualifying here in the Tabletop Trio 150. And we'll take the chance Quickly to talk about tonight's sponsor, Tabletop Trio. Glad to have them on board, sponsoring the Lucky Dog as well this season. That's the wrong logo. That's the right logo. It's a smooth start to this race. You're knocking off that rust. Tabletop Trio. They're a podcast that talk about anything and everything you can do on a table. It's hosted by our own Bob Giaquinto, Joe, and Bronson, where they talk about hobbies from cooking to sim racing to Dungeons and Dragons and dice making. You'll learn more about where to find them as the night goes on. But a big thank you to Tabletop Trio for sponsoring tonight's broadcast. Taking a look now out on the racetrack. We've got a little bit of action going on. Matt White in the number 48 machine out taking time. Jamar Dumas as well. Bill Edwards. Quite a few drivers getting out here quickly to try and put a qualifying time in. And I'm curious, Garrett, to see how many drivers choose to qualify here tonight, being that it's such an unpredictable racetrack.
Unpredictable for sure, and if I was out there, Mitchell, you know me, I would just be submitting that qualifying time starting in the back and being done with it. But 2 points for the pole position. It is an opportunity to make bonus points this season at TNR. So there might not be any harm in trying for a fast lap here, and you can always pull off if need be. So I expect to see at least half the field probably putting qualifying times in, but there's definitely going to be those guys like Doze that they'll start at the back, but he'll make a mockery out of it too and end up starting up front again, wrecking the field like he did that one race.
A couple qualifying times in right now. Matt White sits on top of the chart, but only he and Bill Edwards have a lap in so far. So still very early on in qualifying, but would expect that second lap probably going to be the better one. Usually on these speedway type tracks, you see drivers run up high and build momentum up for that second lap, and we see Bill Edwards comes in almost a half second faster on his second lap. So that looking to be the trend here tonight. The number 99 of Philip Scott out on the racetrack puts his first lap time down. That's a 33.177. Pole time now held by Matt White is a 32.446. That is the time to shoot for. Here tonight's Jamar Dumas goes and knocks him off. So a lot of movement on the qualifying charts. We're only halfway through qualifying. A lot of drivers got their laps, and you see a lot of people coming to us to slow down. Philip Scott, let's see what lap 2 has for Philip. Not enough of a pickup, going to stay 7th on the speed charts. Looking around to see J.D. Laird sporting the number 22 Valvoline paint scheme, a little patriotic car for J.D. Laird. Another familiar face here in the Total Nonstop Racing League.
Yeah, it's always nice to have J.D. Laird show up and race here with us at TNR. Not the best track for someone of his talents, because this is the great equalizer, super speedway racing. Guys like him, Matt White, that are expert level racers throughout their career. This is the equalizer because anyone could win here at Atlanta because of the new configuration. But I still look for J.D. Laird, Matt White, etc. to get up front when the time comes. And speaking of guys that are usually up front when the time comes, our good friend Jason Gracias isn't here tonight, former champion of last season. He's a guy that really thrives at this type of racing, and it's weird not to see him. I'm sure we'll see him as the season goes on.
Yeah, Jason Gracias, like you said, no show here tonight. Hoping to get more drivers out, but still a pretty good field here tonight. I believe it was 16 cars, if I counted right at the end of practice. 9 drivers so far have taken lap time. There's more who haven't. I know Bob Giaquinto hasn't taken time yet. Got Mike Floppy Tellier just finished up lap number 2. Goes to second place. 8/100ths of a second short. Even closer, J.D. Laird, 35/1000ths of a second off the pole time set by Jamar Dumas. Jamar holding strong up there at the top of the speed charts. But like we said, a couple drivers left out here to take time. We'll see if anybody has anything for Jamar out on track. Not much time left, though. Garrett, I think he's probably going to be safe. I don't think anybody has enough time to take over the pole.
Well, good for Jamar starting the season off
Yeah.
with the 2-point bonus. Right now, Jamar, if the season ended, you'd be the points leader and the champion. So it can only go downhill from here. But we'll wish you the best of luck as I guess we're getting ready to rack them up and start this season off.
Yes, we are. It is time to get the 2023 TNR Grand National Series sponsored by Schue Lawn Service underway, and we'll take a look through your starting lineup here tonight. On pole, like we mentioned, the number 28 of Jamar Dumas going to win pole in the opening race of the season. Starting behind him, the number 22 of J.D. Laird. Then in row number 2, it's going to be the 47 of Mike Floppy Tellier on the inside. Matt White on the outside in 4th. In 5th place is Bill Edwards. In the number 50, in 6th, is Matthew Rodriguez in the 51. Then starting in 7th place is Robert Tripp in the 35. Tristan Thuggy Maher starts in 8th. And rounding out your top 10 are Philip Scott in 9th and Jason Schue in 10th.
Mitchell, I don't have a graphic in front of me to tell you who's starting
yeah.
11th and 12th, but feel free to fill me in.
That's right. I don't have that. So in 11th place is David Durand in the number 24. In 12th, Jake Bustos in the 74. 13th is Steven Doziak. 14th, Bob Giaquinto. 15th is Vincent Valvano. And then Garrett Gleason starting in the 16th position.
Just in case you throw me out of the booth, I figured I would submit an entry, and this way I could sneak on track later.
It's safe. We'll see. We'll see how tonight goes. You never know. It's a long race.
Long race. We have a stage break at the conclusion of lap 25, just so everybody knows. So hopefully that'll be our first caution and maybe our only caution. We had some good green flag runs last year, but that was with a different car. So these guys are used to this model, so I think we'll see some good racing out there.
I was going to say, last season, this series drove in the next-gen car. Most recently, TNR did a next-gen series. Switching back to the Xfinity car, though, they drive quite a bit different, Garrett, than those next-gen cars do. Very much. Oh, I'll let you go ahead.
No, I thought you cut off there for a second. I just wanted to fill in so we didn't have any downtime. But just from my experience, those next-gen cars were a lot tighter. We need to always have a slick track, it seems like, to create some good racing. And I think these cars are just a little more easygoing as far as the settings go. These guys should be able to maneuver these and not have much problems. But you're much a better racer than me if you'd like to top that off.
I did 2 races last season in the Cup Series on 3Y TV with you guys in that next gen. That's my only next gen experience, but from experience in these Xfinity cars, I know they're very drivable. I feel like tire wear is a lot more in the driver's hands. Those next gen cars, very heavy feeling. I really struggled with the handling. They drive just a lot more different than the smaller horsepower cars that we kind of go up through the ranks with in Oakland. I feel like these are more similar to what these drivers are used to, but the big key difference here is you just have to be smooth and keep your momentum up in these cars. I think that's the biggest thing these drivers have to deal with. But the iRacing pace car pulls off pit road, the field in the hands of Jamar Dumas to lead him to the first green flag of the 2023 season, and we are racing at Atlanta. And J.D. Laird on the outside lane gets a massive start but has no help behind him from the 48 of Matt White. Still learning car numbers for some of these spaces, so we'll get that ironed out. But up the inside lane, Jamar Dumas with a lot of help from Mike Floppy Tellier into 3 and 4 for the first time. Dumas with the lead.
You know, I've called Mike Tellier the Canadian Dale Earnhardt on 3Y TV. This is the first time I'm calling it here on WRN, but having that Canadian Dale Earnhardt behind you was great for Jamar Dumas as he leads the first lap here of 2023.
It certainly was, but now that 47 nowhere in sight for Jamar Dumas. Up the outside lane goes J.D. Laird with help from Matt White and Matthew Rodriguez behind them. Matthew Rodriguez, he's not at all shabby on this form of racing. I've raced with him many times on super speedways. One of the best drivers I've been around at this style of racing. So the 51 definitely a driver to keep an eye on. Is that inside lane, Garrett, really not formed up very well. The outside isn't formed up very well either, but those front two still bumper to bumper, and J.D. Laird going to lead that time around.
Yeah, Mitchell, I couldn't agree more with Matthew Rodriguez. Changes his number, but he's still the same excellent super speedway racer out there, and it's no surprise seeing him right behind those two very talented drivers on the outside. as it looks like the inside lane is starting to form a little bit better, but Mike is not where he needs to be to push that 28.
Yeah, absolutely no help up the inside lane for Jamar Dumas, and JD Laird continues to make that outside lane work with Matt White right behind him. See Dumas now falling back. Matthew Rodriguez trying to get by him in the outside now. Tristan Thuggy Maher joins the pack. And I mean, Mike Floppy Tellier on the inside, he's also one of the best speedway racers I think I've driven around. Always good on this style of track. Of course, you can say that about all these guys, really. Great, talented group of drivers here in TNR, but right now we're seeing those drivers in the outside lane really excel here. Just that inside lane not forming itself up like I think it needs to in these early stages, but it is still early. They don't need to be pushing super hard here at this stage, Garrett.
I agree. From an administrative standpoint, give each other space and just ride it out here till the stage break at the very least. But come that stage break, the top 8 will get points, so I expect to see these guys get a little racier around that lap 25 number. But going back to Mike, Mike is a excellent pusher, excellent super speed racer, but it always happens when you're such a good pusher that guys want you to push them and they do not want to push you, and that's why Mike usually ends up finishing second more often than not. So I'd like to see him break through that this season, get himself a couple wins at these super speedway races.
And that inside lane now starting to creep back forward. You see Jamar Dumas at one point was side by side with JD Laird for the lead. Now up the inside of Matt White, but Mike Tellier starting to creep his way back toward the bumper. Still not there, but you see the run, Garrett. Jamar is getting there on the inside lane. He loses it on the straightaways. That's kind of what we would normally expect from a mile and a half, but then again, this track doesn't really race like a normal mile and a half. Normally, the field would already be very strung out here at Atlanta. You'd have drivers all fighting for the inside early on in the race, but here you see Jamar Dumas really fighting his way up forward, trying to use that side draft, and there he gets the nose out in front of JD Laird out of turn 4. Do you think he's getting that just from that shorter way around the racetrack?
I would agree with that, Mitchell, and I believe he's also doing, like you said, an excellent job with the side draft, and that 28 is doing it almost all on his own, but like you said, shortest way around, at least amount of distance, and he's making it work for him right now, but it's going to be hard with as organized as the outside line looks to be to keep that up for much longer, as they go getting ready to go 3 wide, maybe.
Matt White thought about making it 3 wide on the outside, thought better of it, and settles back in behind JD Laird, but that let Jamar Dumas get his nose out in front, and Dumas goes back to the race lead on that lap. The 51, he thought better of whatever was going on the outside lane. He didn't like it. He's jumped down into the inside behind the 47 of Tellier. Bill Edwards now in the outside lane in that number 50 S2R machine. Really, these front 3 cars, there's separation between them and everybody else at the moment. Tellier's keeping his distance back. Bill Edwards is keeping his distance back, and it's kind of letting these front 3 kind of hang out. As again, I think Matt White thought about going 3 wide up the middle. It looks like it from that angle, but yeah, these drivers up front pushing really hard, and there comes Tellier up the inside lane to give Dumas a shot down the back straightaway.
Yeah, great push there by the 47. I got used to say 47, not 97, as they're going into 3 here. But just thinking back to what we talked about in practice, Mitchell, that perhaps the heat in the tires and some tire wear is starting to come into play here tonight, and that's why these guys are maybe searching a little bit, like we see Matt White searching. It could be something to keep an eye on as this run goes on.
Yeah, certainly possible. Looking around, trying to find who you can work with in these early stages. That's very important, but right now it's been pretty much these same pairs up front since the drop of the green flag. JD Laird getting pushed by Matt White. Jamar Dumas trying to get pushed by Mike Tellier, but again, Tellier's kind of fallen back from him just a little bit. As Bill Edwards has closed in now to the back bumper of Matt White. David Durand in the 24. Jeff Gordon throwback scheme. That's right there with him as well. Vincent Valvano, I believe, is that other car back in line behind Durand. And still nose to nose headed into turn 3. Neither lane seems to get an advantage Where do you want to be, Garrett? If you have your choice of lanes right now, where do you want to be in the early stages of this race?
Well, much like Steven Doziak and one of his fat girlfriends, I like to be on top, Mitchell, but that's just personal preference at races like this. I keep it up near the wall. I feel like if something bad happens, I have less of a distance to go to just avoid something. I'll just hit the wall, and hopefully that'll be the least of my damage. But right now, like you said, you're just looking for your dancing partner, and these are all talented guys, all veteran drivers who have raced together before, so you know who you're comfortable with. I'm just looking, for example, at the bottom lane, Mike, Matt, Rod, Tristan, those guys will work together. I think JD's found himself a great partner, and Matt White up top, guys that are at least on similar career paths as far as professional racing goes. And Bill is a wild card. Bill's teammates with Jamar. Jamar's up in the inside lane. Bill's on the outside. I'd look to see those guys work together later on. And don't count anyone out. These guys at the back are just formulating a game plan, and they'll start creeping up as the laps wind down.
Yeah, these guys in the back kind of writing it out right now, trying to play it a little safer. That's a very viable strategy. We talk about whether drivers want to qualify or not. Some people don't because they like to stay in the back and be safe. I've done that many times in my career. You see Philip Scott, a winner here in TNR. A lot of really good drivers, like you said. Jason Schue, a super speedway champion in his day, out running in the back. We usually see, I've watched Jason Schue race before, as the 99 of Philip Scott got up into the wall. A little bit of right side contact, but looks to have kept it pretty much up to speed, but a little bit of a moment there for Philip. Let's go back actually and see what happened there, because there was smoke in the 99 into the wall headed into turn 3. I don't know.
Oh, it's our first replay together. I'm excited here on the World Racing Network.
It is. What do you see in this replay?
Well, I see Philip Scott making sure there's no paint left on the right side of his number 99 National Ninja League Ford, but it doesn't look like something that'll be too bad. He'll be able to get to the boys in the pits and get that straightened out on their lap 25 stage break.
Yeah, just a little bit of a tap for the 99. I believe something else exciting happened while we were looking at this replay, so we're going to take a look to a little bit of a commentator's curse, I think, already. You hate to have that happen so early in our first race here, but this is the number 3, Jason Schue, gets into the outside wall, out of turn 2, hard into the infield wall. That not going to be so easy to recover from. Then back up into the outside wall just for good measure. I think Jamar Dumas got a piece of that too. Yeah, big damage for Jamar Dumas, who'd been running up front. Let's go see what happened to him too. That's more damage. I think Philip Scott got a little bit lucky. These are 2 separate incidents probably here, Garrett.
Yeah, well, Jamar from the lead. Let's see what happens here as we check our 3rd replay in a row. All the craziness happened in the back of the field, and just a bump there between the 22 and the 28, and he's going to be glad he got those 2 bonus points for starting on the pole, because that 28 car will not be in contention the rest of the night. Tough break for Jamar.
Yeah, that car pretty much destroyed there. Kind of looked, maybe we'll get another angle at it, like a bad bump came from the 48. Not really, just got JD a little bit out of sorts, and Jamar Dumas in the wrong place at the wrong time. Just nothing really he could do about that one, Garrett. And it's tough to anticipate when someone's just going to kind of turn down on a straightaway.
Yeah, isn't that the case? I don't even in Jason Schue's case, I don't think he knew his car was going to make a hard left there, and these guys racing up the front, you don't expect that type of thing to happen. Just tough break there for the 28, and wow, we had a good run, and then we just happened to go to replay and just jinxed three cars in the field.
Yep, 3 drivers involved in 3 separate incidents there within the span of 1 lap, and Jamar sitting down at pit road right now. I've watched Jamar race. We had him last season on Thursday nights. He's just struggles with having bad luck, and that's another case of that. Just can't get the momentum together. Things happen to him out of his control, and that was another example of that for Jamar Dumas. Didn't want to start off the 2023 season that way, but you see no front end, no rear end on that car, so he's just going to kind of coast it around here tonight and look toward next week to try and get some points, but not the way your pole sitter wanted to start this race out.
Yeah, I've started my season that way in a lot of different leagues, and you dig yourself that points hole, and it takes multiple weeks to dig yourself out of that. But Jamar is definitely a talented enough racer, and he's proven it week after week here at TNR that he's going to be able to pull himself out starting next week at Phoenix and working his way through the schedule. But anything can happen at these races. We could see some attrition, so just keep out there. Maybe he could get a top 10 out of this deal.
Yeah, and he showed a lot of speed here tonight, too. He's making it work on the inside lane all by himself, so that's got to be a glimmer of hope there for that 28 car. He had something good going tonight, but unfortunately, lap 19 here, already out of this one. Pace car lights are out. We're going to go back green. Our first restart of the 2023 season. So fun, so exciting. You're glad to have racing back in the new year. I've missed being up here in the broadcast booth. I know you guys have had a long off season here, but getting ready to get things back going again. This time it's going to be Matt White leading the field to green. JD Laird came back down pit road for some repairs, so he is no longer up at the front, at least for now. Green flag back in the air. The 51 machine spun the tires really bad. That's Matthew Rodriguez. Things really stacked up there. Could have been a lot worse. Did a very good job gathering that car back up. Out front, though, it's the 47 of Mike Floppy Tellier working with Tristan Thuggy Maher in the outside lane. Two TNR vets, bumper to bumper here, and Matt White trying to get things going on the inside lane. He's going to have Matthew Rodriguez with him as they exit turn 4, side by side. A little bit loose there for Matt White.
Starting to see some new guys creep up into the picture too, Mitchell. I see Doziak sneaking up there. I see Bob sneaking up there. It's getting close to that stage break, and you want to be in that top 8 to get some points. So not surprised to see these guys battling this close. And when you get this close in the pack, Mitchell, you know what can happen. The dreaded big one. Let's hope not.
The 35 of Robert Tripp working his way up inside the top 5. Hadn't talked about him yet tonight. Nice Hardy's scheme on Robert Tripp. You mentioned Bob Giaquinto there in the tabletop trio machine. Good to see the title sponsor and the Lucky Dog sponsor for this season. Moving up toward the front. Meanwhile, though, 3 wide at the front of the pack. Almost contact between Matt White. Oh, and there is contact between Matt White and Tristan Maher. Somebody else slides in the back.
Doze.
Doze out. Doing good there. Moving up toward the front. Gets it going back straight, but that puts us back under caution for the second time tonight. We'll take a look back at what happened to Steven Doziak headed into turn number 1.
Yeah, let's take a look here at the number 55. Doze. Looks like he's running a Chevy tonight. That's pretty rare for him. Usually a Toyota guy. Heading into the corner, sees this chaos up in front of him, and oh, well, that'll is our old pal Vinny, who's definitely the nicest guy out there, would never do that intentionally, but it just happened to get into Doze and turn him a little bit sideways, and no harm there. Those guys will regroup and probably work together by the end of this race. So that should be our stage break also, Mitchell, because we have a plus or minus 5 lap rule here at TNR.
That should be then, yes, on board with Vinny Valvano here. Just seeing, it's like you said, Steven Doziak started checking up, thought something was going down, and Vincent Valvano didn't, and there is a caution. It's just a bit of a racing deal there. That does put us again back under the second caution of tonight, and that should be the stage caution. This is lap 23. Are there stage points?
Yeah, so first place at the stage break gets 8 points, 7, and so on till 8th, and that would be it. So if you're in the top 8 there, you get yourself a little bonus to start the year off right.
Congratulations to everybody winning some stage points. Not everyone elected to come down pit road under this caution either. Bill Edwards stays out. He will be the race leader when we go back green. JD Laird also stays out, and Matt White remains on the racetrack. No Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award under this caution. Haven't had one either time tonight. It is a good time to talk more about tonight's race sponsor, Tabletop Trio. We talked about how they talk about anything you can do on a table. on their podcast. If you want to listen to the podcast, they are on Twitch at twitch.tv/Tabletop Trio. They're on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and you can find them anywhere you listen to your podcast. This week, they'll be debuting some fresh-made mead that they made on a show last month. So if you want to see that, make sure to tune into Tabletop Trio this Wednesday. You can find them on Twitch, live, or wherever you get your podcasts. Might have to tune in. Sounds like it could be an interesting episode.
I think if maybe I could stop hanging out with you on Mondays and just start hanging out with those guys on Wednesdays, that sounds like much more fun. But Bob always posts his link to his Twitch and stuff at TNR, so be sure to check those guys out and certainly give them the support, because Bob's done nothing but support this league since we came back. So it'd be great if we could get some more eyeballs on the Tabletop Trio this week.
Yeah, I've watched them a little bit. Very entertaining show. So if you're looking for something to do, we don't have racing on Wednesday night, so why not spend your Wednesday night with the Tabletop Trio? Bob not having a bad night either here. We're at the quarter race distance. He's up inside the top 5. So Bob Giaquinto moving his way up through the field, having a very nice night. I believe, I don't know if he's, I know sometimes he goes live with his in-car on the Tabletop Trio. I don't know if he's doing that tonight. Let me go check while we're under this.
You go check, and just to get back to Bob, he should have been our in-race reporter. We could have started queuing him up during these yellow flags and getting his perspective out there. And I guess that was like a different sponsorship package that the Tabletop Trio didn't want to go for tonight, because they have their own audience. He's got his own stream going. You don't help us here at WRN, Bob. I'm not going to root for you anymore. I'm rooting for, who's that? Let's root for Jake in the 74 at the back there. He's never won a race here at TNR. Always seems to finish second. So I'm rooting for you, Jake. Don't embarrass me.
We can always just drag him up in here and he doesn't know it's coming. And sometimes interesting things happen. And you just randomly bring people up into the booth. Green flag back in the air. Bill Edwards with a very good start now. J.D. Laird, decent start as well, up in second. Neither one of them getting much help though, but Philip Scott, we were just talking about Philip being at the back of the pack. Now here he is up in second place right behind your race leader, J.D. Laird. Well, he slotted into third for just a second, but already back up into that outside lane where he likes to be. Mike Floppy Tellier pushing him around the racetrack. Bob settles into third, and it's Matthew Rodriguez third in the outside lane, and we are 2x2 already. One lap in the books. J.D. Laird going to get to the race lead, and he's might have been clear of that 50 for just a second, elected not to jump down. J.D. really likes that outside lane, Garrett. We've seen him up there all race long as Philip Scott decides he doesn't like the front of the pack, dropping toward the back. But JD's been very aggressive, but he seems to be able to hold the lead in the outside lane no matter who's pushing him.
Yeah, Mitchell, it makes sense, though, if you're anyone in this field. J.D. Laird, his record speaks for himself. His talent, he's proven it time and time again. You want to go to the front, you want to learn this track, follow him. Whether he's in the 22, the 46, it does not matter. Get to that bumper and stay there. So if I was on his bumper, I would not want him to clear me to the bottom. I would want him to stay right where he's at and stick with him. So I'm not surprised to see that as we look at David Durand trying to make that bottom lane work. He's going to need some more help.
Yeah, David Durand all by himself on the inside lane. You're not really going to get to the front all by yourself unless you're Jamar Dumas. He seemed to do it earlier on, but right now, yeah, no help coming to him. Bill Edwards trying to get up there. He's working with Bob Giaquinto, but they're quite a ways back from the 24 of Durand, trying to use that side draft. Works a little bit, pulls up beside Mike Tellier now, but J.D. Laird controlling that race from the outside lane here. As you see Durand getting a little help now from Tristan Thuggy Maher, who jumps down into that inside lane and making something happen now, almost nose to nose with your race leader.
Oh, we got a little bit of contact to the wall there in the back. I don't know if it was Bob or somewhere right near him, but Bob had some momentum there. It was like the fourth car in the outside lane, and then looks like he just clipped the wall a little bit. But as we've seen, Mitchell, these guys hit that outside wall and they're able to keep going. So just proves that these GNS chassis could take a little bit of a beating and keep on going.
Yeah, these cars made with, it's been a while since I pulled the term out, but basically where the bodies, they're meant to take compressions and bounce back. I had YouTube messing with me here. Anyways, David Durand up in the race lead now. You got the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez running in second place. Tristan Maher trying to work the outside lane. He's now getting pushed by J.D. Laird. I don't know if this is a position J.D.'s been in yet tonight. He's been out front for the most part, but now he finds himself trying to push Tristan Maher back up to the race lead. But the inside lane now the popular place to be out on the racetrack.
Yeah, we've seen just a change now. That outside lane is the most populated lane. Now these guys are diving to the bottom. I don't know if this is a, hey, let's gang up on JD thing, but it's only lap 32, coming to 33 now. I don't think that's really the case, so something to keep an eye on. If guys are uncomfortable in that outside lane, they've seen a couple guys hit the wall, and they don't want to keep chancing it right now, this could be the portion of the race, as boring as it is from a broadcast perspective, where guys just decide, hey, let's just run in the line here, knock some laps off, and get to our pit stop, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, we are in that middle portion of the race where guys kind of will start to settle down and just try and make that push toward the end, or a third of the way there, taking lap 34 now on the racetrack. And lap traffic coming up, that's Jamar Dumas. Everyone seems to get by that number 28 with some ease here as he's just kind of hanging up in the outside lane. And you see how much that damage has impacted Jamar. The entire field basically goes by him down the back straightaway. He's sitting only a lap down right now, so were we to get a caution, he'd get that Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award, but not much really to be done with that at this point in the race. Jamar, like we talked about, just kind of beyond repair for driver of the 28. Tristan Maher in the outside lane, doing a good job with the race lead. J.D. Laird pushing in. Mike Tellier jumped up in the outside lane. David Durant hanging in that inside lane, fighting it. Matthew Rodriguez again. Two great pushers here, battling here. That outside lane drops down to try and take the air off the inside. Had some people out in the chat. Sarah Marr says, hi, Mitchell. The Windsors say, good luck, Bill. Let's check on Bill Edwards. Kind of gone back toward the pack, running in 10th, kind of doing what we talked about, Garrett. Playing it a little bit safer. Stay tuned Sports saying, good luck, everyone, and the Giants can, well, I'll keep my R-rated mouth out of the chat. It's probably safe. And Nicole Weghorst says Mitchell Adams. A lot of Mitchell Adams fans in the chat. I'm so popular, Garrett.
Well, it is your station, so it would make sense that people like you on your own broadcast network. But just to touch on what you just mentioned, just want to shout out Jimbo. I wish Jimbo was out here on track with us. Stay tuned Sports Podcast, a big supporter of sim racing in general, whether it's here at TNR or NSRA. So I look forward to racing with Jimbo again. Whether or not the Giants lose to the Eagles by 14 points this week, it doesn't matter, because the Giants are in the playoffs for the first time since 2016, and even my seasonal depression can't take that away from me. And one more thing on Bill. Bill, we bust Bill relentlessly, or at least I do. I just want to say what an awesome job Bill and Johnny did on cars for a second grade class at the school I work at. Bill put time and effort in there, and so did Johnny, and I appreciate what those guys did so much. So anything I say about Bill this season, it's all in good fun. Bill's awesome, a great man, and I root for him every week. So Bill and Bill's family, all the best. I hope you had a good holiday season and a Happy New Year.
I'm still a little bit upset from what your Giants did to my Colts this past weekend, Garrett. It's not been the season we wanted to have. You all are lucky you get playoff berth.
Yeah, you'll get a franchise quarterback one of these years, Mitchell. But
well,
Nick Foles getting snow angels made next to him as he lays there, that was pretty upsetting. So
yeah.
Rooting for the best for him, and we'll see. I'm not anti-Colts. Maybe he'll get a new coach in there, but we'll listen to the Stay Tuned Sports podcast. Maybe we'll hear something about what he feels about that.
That's right, I'm sure. Probably big topic of discussion in the NFL this week, but Moving back to the Tabletop Trio 150, Tristan Maher now jumped down to the inside lane in front of David Duran, so that moves JD Laird leading the outside lane, but we see working both lanes, maybe Tristan, he could do that right now. He's got both of them behind him. We'll see here. Of course, that outside lane, still not a lot of cars up there. We've seen it come and go through the race, and JD Laird and Mike Telly are doing a good job keeping it going, but right now they just don't have the cars to quite compete with the inside lane like maybe they'd want to, but JD Laird does not care, and he goes to the outside of Tristan Maher for the race lead. Doesn't have any help though, but trying to side draft his way to the lead.
This is impressive watching that 22 up there on his own, just kind of holding serve here with this bottom lane. That's definitely much more organized and just proves what a great equalizer this type of racing is the 47 of Floppy gets to his back bumper here, going to give him a push.
I've been impressed with how powerful that side draft has been throughout this race. We saw early on Jamar Dumas really kept himself up battling for the lead with the side draft. David Durand was doing it to great effect when we restarted this most recent time, and JD Laird doing it there, but David Durand, a nice move up the inside of Tristan Thuggy Maher, and he will try and nose his way into the race lead. Moved that 17 up into the outside. That was a slick move he pulled there on the back straightaway, but the momentum from the outside lane keeping that 17 up in the race lead.
Wow, really impressive for that 17, keeping the lead there. And nope, we're going by Jamar again. That's usually me in a normal race getting lapped, but Jamar at least has an excuse. He's just going to limp out there and hope for attrition, but good job getting out of the way and good job for everybody getting around him.
And kind of shook things up here at the front. It's a little bit sketchy for some of those drivers in the outside lane. JD Laird managed to get himself up into the race lead thanks to that move, and I don't think we made note of it tonight, but they can't pass below that red line either. That is the out of bounds zone. You don't go below that red line or Garrett's going to get mad at you, so that's something important to remember here. As JD back up into the outside lane where he likes to be. Got Tristan with him now in the outside lane, and Mike Tellier still holding strong out there. We're watching, I believe, the 51 Matthew Rodriguez. He's up here in the outside lane. Look at the 64 Vincent Valvano starting to work his way up through the field. Cracked the top 10 currently. Runs in the 8th place position, battling with Robert Tripp, actually for 6th. So he runs in 7th. I think that's how math works.
Yeah, I usually rely on Peter for that, so I guess I'll have to find another guy if you're not capable. But just a great run. Robert Tripp's been up near that top 5 all race long, and seeing Vinny creep up there is good to see as well. You know, if I had to get a tattoo of one of the drivers out there just as a fan, I think it would be a Vincent Valvano tattoo, because I can't say anything bad about him. He just shows up and he's fast and he doesn't bother anyone, and by the end of the night he's top 5 contention lately. So it definitely wouldn't be a Steven Doziak tattoo, but I'm pretty sure Vinny would be the go-to.
Yeah, he's having a solid night in that Backcraft number 64 machine. As David Durand out front trying to work his way up the inside of JD Laird for the race lead, led that most recent time around. Side by side into the turn, and there's really been no preferred lane here, Garen. We kind of expected that, but nobody's been able to get an advantage the inside over the outside. Thought Matthew Rodriguez in the 51 was gonna make it 3 wide, but he didn't quite get the push he needed down the back straightaway. Has to settle back in behind David Durand. And still side by side up front. As the 35 of Robert Tripp got really loose through the front tri-oval. Might have had a little help, but a nice save from the 35 as he slides up in front of Doze, and Bill Edwards gets really loose in the 50 machine. Notice that a couple of times, Garrett. Drivers getting pretty loose here. That's not something I really expect to see now. Before or after this repave, before they repaved Atlanta, you'd expected to see drivers slipping and sliding all the way around it. Again, Robert Tripp loose through the front tri-oval. I wonder how much of a handful these cars are actually being to drive out there.
Yeah, Mitchell, do you think it's because of the fuel burning off there? The 35 is maybe having some issue heating the tires, fuel burning off. They're becoming harder and harder to control. I mean, there is a couple guys out there on different pit strategies, which I think the 22 would be one of them, and he doesn't seem to be having much of an issue. Correct me if I'm wrong.
JD Laird last pitted on lap 31. He has been out there, or excuse me, he's been out there for 32 laps. I was thinking of the wrong data. Everyone else has really been out 27 laps, so he just didn't pit on the most recent caution. 5 laps can definitely make a difference in iRacing, but you don't expect to see the fuel burn have that much of an impact on a super speedway type track, but it might be because this is a mile and a half. It's a mile shorter than the other super speedways. I haven't had the chance to drive it ever since it was repaved, but I think it's very possible that as the run goes on and those tires wear out, you could see more loose condition. David Durant sliding back on the inside lane, had a bit of a moment in 1 and 2, and that's going to really allow that outside lane to drive through. We haven't talked about Jake Bustos much tonight in the 74, but he's worked himself now up inside the top 5 as well. Another driver, I remember I called a race last season with Peter, and Jake Bustos was right up there for the race lead at the end of it, so don't count him out. He's got a very intimidating paint scheme, all black for that number 74 Toyota.
That's all he deserves, Mitchell, because he cannot close the deal and win a race. When he wins a race, I will call Chris at Max Graphics and I will get him a paint scheme made to commemorate the event. But until then, he is not worth our time. I talked to him pre-race. I said, Jake, is this going to be the race you finally win, get that monkey off your back? And he said, you know what, Garrett, I'm not capable of winning a race. And I'll let you know when I think I am, but I'm just out here to make some laps and have a good time because I'm only going to finish second. So that's his words. That's a direct quote, Mitchell. You'll look it up.
Last time I called a race at Atlanta, we had a first-time winner, so maybe Jake Bustos can make it 2 for 2. We'll have to wait and see, but right now, JD Laird is having none of that. He's just dominating this race out in the front. I believe led the most laps in the race tonight. The field really gotten spread out up at the front now. Nobody running with JD Laird. They're side by side behind him, but really no organization at the moment from these drivers. Well, they're hidden behind signs. That doesn't really work, but everybody kind of flocking to the inside now, but they were kind of just all over the racetrack. Nobody really knows who they want to work with at the moment.
Yeah, and they better start to figure it out here, Mitchell. I think they were coming up about 10 to 15 laps away from pit stops. I'm guessing, just based off of my practice numbers. So now's the time. Find your dancing partner. Start planning ahead for that pit stop. So get in line, get to the bottom. There's no need to be that racy right now, but if you could take that advantage on the pit stop where you either pit with your group, get in there first, get all clean. As we see Rodriguez into the wall there, it looks like everyone's going to avoid him, but that could have been a catastrophe.
Yeah, Matthew Rodriguez hard into the outside wall, down the back straightaway. Gonna lose the pack because of that. And we'll go back on the World Racing Network replay, see what happened to that 51, but I think just kind of got a little bit high on the exit. So yeah, that's exactly what happened. Contact with Mike Floppy Tellier as well out of the corner, but we stay green through that. Everybody kept it going straight. But that 51 not going to have as much a fun time now, kind of like Jamar, except without all that damage. Just going to be riding around, kind of waiting for a caution to come out so he can close back up on that lead pack.
Yeah, you're Matthew Rodriguez. Just don't give up as you're still on the lead lap. Just hang in there because there should be a yellow by the end of the race. I'd be shocked if there wasn't. So if you could keep the rest of your car clean and as long as there's no engine damage, you should be fine in contention by the end of this thing. As it looks like we have a new leader up at the front, and the Ninja machine of Ninja Philip Scott, takes the lead. I was so proud of Philip earlier, Mitchell, when I saw him go to the back and wait, because Philip's becoming a veteran driver. He has the speed, he has the talent, but he needs the smarts out there. And sometimes it's not time to push. And it was nice to see him back off early when things got chaotic. And now seeing that 9 on the front is no surprise to me.
Yeah, Philip Scott in the World Ninja League machine out for, I believe, the first time tonight in the lead. He's got Jake Bustos now in second place behind him. Jake Bustos 1 spot away from that lead. Got JD Laird right on his bumper, and David Durand, as he's been doing most of this run, just kind of trying to make it happen all by himself. Now he gets a little bit of help from Bustos, who's kind of sitting in the middle right now, trying to figure out where he wants to go, and now settles down into the inside lane. Philip Scott as well makes the move down. I think JD Laird in that outside, if you're Philip Scott or if you're Jake Bustos, you want to stay up in front of that 22 because he has been so good at keeping the outside lane and keep the momentum rolling up there. I think you want to keep him in second place. You don't want to give him the lead of that pack or of that line because he's going to make something happen with it.
100%. And you'd hate to be those people scheming against JD because JD's a great guy, but you don't blame them either. If you could block him, block off his run, or get a teammate in one lane and you in the other lane and control both lanes, that's going to be to your benefit, especially here before pit stops and coming to the end of the race as we see Jake pulling off, maybe getting ready to get in line to make a pit stop.
Yeah, Jake Bustos jumps out of that lead pack. Going to fall in now toward the back of the field. And JD Laird, just like we were talking about him, now back out into the race lead. David Durand trying to fight his way up the inside. Gets to the inside corner panel. Almost thought there was going to be contact there between those two. And that wouldn't have been good. Contact right up at the front of the field. But they keep it going straight. And now, I think he was listening to me, David Durand slides up to cover off that 22 of JD Laird. But that opens the door for Matt White. We have not talked about Matt White since the opening laps of this race. He kind of fell back, but now working his way back forward and to the race lead. Matt White at the start-finish line is your new race leader as the field works again around Jamar Dumas. Still in position for that Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog, though.
Hey, welcome to 2023, Matt White. Matt's been in TNR, it seems like, for 20 years. He comes sporadically here as his racing career lets him, and no surprise seeing him up front. Not his ideal race. He really likes being out there on the driver's tracks, but he saw the opportunity to take the lead there under the 24, and he took it. And looking at JD here on the outside, JD and Matt White maybe could be a battle towards the end here, but Durand and Floppy and Phillip and them, they're not going to let it be just a two-horse race, that's for sure.
There's certainly a lot of drivers in contention here as we're well past the halfway point now. I do expect we mentioned, or you mentioned it a little bit ago, green flag pit stops are probably coming up here shortly. Don't know exactly how much fuel these drivers have in the tank, but it's been about 30 laps since they last pitted, so 30 or 40 laps. So anytime now we're probably going to see some drivers duck down into pit road. Oh, but there's contact between the 22. Philip Scott goes spinning up into the outside lane. Caution flag comes out. Mike Tellier locks it down on the apron. We will go back and take a look at that one. That's big, Garrett, because a lot of these drivers who've been up here all night long in contention got caught up in that little incident there.
Yeah, product of the track, product of the type of close racing we're having here at Atlanta. And we're going to take a look here at our World Racing Network replay here. Starts up at the front, and then everybody's just along for the ride as we're coming here. And 24 gets a little squirrely into 22 of JD Laird. Looks like most guys are going to be able to save it. Mike in the 47 looks like he did a good job of locking it down. I'm sure we'll have another angle here, and you could give the insight on that.
Yeah, we're going to go to our World Racing Network aerial blimp camera here to take a look at this one. From my perspective here, of course, I've been in the broadcast booth a long time. We're going to switch to well, no, not that one, this one. It kind of looked like, yeah, the 24 got loose. I thought from that first angle, he just didn't know JD was up there, but he definitely got loose and just corrected it a little bit too far up the racetrack, and JD Laird with a ton of damage from that one. Philip Scott, we're going to go on board with the 99 of Philip Scott because he had a good perspective going into this one. You see Philip just minding his own business, and then they start wrecking above him. And I don't know if he got clipped from behind are clipped from the side, but he got shot up into the wall. Jake Bustos had to miss it. Mike Tellier had to miss it, but we talked about, Garrett, these cars get a little bit looser, old tires, low fuel. I think that's just what happened to the 24 of David Duran, and it was just a very small wiggle from the rear end, but that's all it took to move him up the track just enough into JD Laird.
Yeah, there's no large margin for error at a super speedway race. You're so close, and just that little bit of wiggle and the need to correct your race car leads you into someone else, and you see the chain reaction all the way back through the field. But from an administrator's standpoint, that was a great job by everyone getting through that got through that. A lot of little scuffs here, minimal damage. Guys will be able to, get their fenders pulled out, get some tires on, and get back out there. And that should be a big break for Matthew Rodriguez as well, assuming he kept running there. He should be able to get back on the lead lap.
Yeah, I do believe Matthew Rodriguez, we'll take a look at him, sitting on pit road now. Pretty sure he picked up. Well, no, he didn't actually pick up. I'm wrong. He hadn't gone a lap down yet. The driver who did pick up the one and only Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award is Jamar Dumas, who he needed one. It's something to go his way tonight, Garrett. He did win pole, but it's just not been Jamar's night. But he is going to pick up the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award. Again, thank you to Tabletop Trio for sponsoring Lucky Dog and tonight's race. And Jamar Dumas, very thankful, now only 3 laps down. And like you talked about too, Matthew Rodriguez, he's going to get caught back up to the pack now. Somewhere in the chaos. I don't know if he was, but Bill Edwards is now 1 lap down. I didn't see that. Maybe it happened in the madness. I'm not sure, but Bill is 1 lap down. Jamar is 3 laps down. Jason Schue, who's not had the night he wanted either, 10 laps down in the number 3 machine. Other than that, though, the other 12 drivers in the field on the lead lap here tonight, so we're not doing too bad in terms of keeping drivers up in contention. Tristan Thuggy Maher, the new race leader, courtesy of the pit cycle. Matt White in second, Robert Tripp in third, Vincent Valvano fourth, and David Duran rounds out the top 5 headed into this restart. Your friend Steven Doziak, Garrett, sitting in 6th place right now.
And Steven Doziak, a former TNR Super Speedway winner, the fat chick thriller himself, the pride of northeastern Pennsylvania when he's here. He has like 6 vacation homes. I can't keep track of the guy, but it's good to see Doze up front, and I'm hoping, now Doze, I know you're listening to the broadcast, push that 64 of Vinny to the win. It'll be the greatest accomplishment of your life. You could crawl in the hole tomorrow because your life will be over. Push the 64, Doze. Make me proud.
He's in a good position right now, sitting 3rd car in that outside lane. We'll see what he can do. That outside lane has been the lane that really moves. It's going to be Matt White, Vincent Valvano, Steven Doziak, and Mike Floppy Tellier in the outside lane, and then the rest of the field lined up to their inside, led by Tristan Maher, who had the fastest pit stop that cycle. Congratulations, Tristan. Good job to the pit crew there. Sometimes those randomly iRacing generated pit road times can kind of screw you around sometimes, but not for Tristan there. Had a very, very fast 15-second stop. Whereas Jake Bustos had a splash and go later in the caution, 3.7 seconds. No one told me this was Formula 1, but
well, hey, I'm glad you were talking about Tristan, because Tristan and I talked before the race. He said, don't badger me in the booth. The monkey's off my back. But I think it's only fair that I don't think Tristan's ever won a race with me doing color. So, Tristan, the monkey is still on your back. It doesn't count until I say it counts, but that 17 just got shot out of a cannon there. And I hope somebody black flags him for jumping the restart. I'm kidding.
He had an incredible restart there. Green flag back in the air. Tristan Maher out into the front. Nobody else even coming close to him. And that's not always what you want to see, because what's just about to happen is Robert Tripp with a ton of speed. David Duran, there they go. Bye-bye. He just got out to too good a restart. And this is the one type of track, these speedway pack racing tracks, you don't want to get a super good restart. So he's fallen back to 4th, had nobody to help keep him up in that race lead. And for the first time tonight, Robert Tripp, your leader of the Tabletop Trio 150.
How cool is that? Robert Tripp getting shot out to the lead. Nice push by the 24, David Duran. Now, Robert Tripp, get to that bottom. Hold that bottom lane and get some help behind you. No need to get crazy out there. You get your lap led, get your 2 bonus points. And I'm looking at that 23 of Bob Giaquinto sneaking up there, making me proud. Garrett, you're in the booth. I'm in the race, and racing he is doing right now, Mitchell.
Yeah, Bob Giaquinto trying to make the outside lane work. Gets with Tristan Thuggy Maher in the outside. Philip Scott working on the inside with Matthew Rodriguez. Out front, though, it is side by side with Robert Tripp and David Duran fighting through on the inside lane. Duran now cleared for the race lead down the back straightaway, but watch the run from Philip Scott that's coming on the inside lane. He and Matthew Rodriguez hooked up pretty well. You talked about it too. I love Bob Giaquinto's position. Really doing a good job on the outside lane. He's been very slowly working his way up through the field. But right now, sitting second in the outside lane, Giaquinto. I love the track position, and it's got a clean race car. That's so important here at a very aerodynamic racetrack.
I love how you keep pronouncing his name both ways.
I know.
It's cracking me up.
It goes.
Yeah, I know he gave you the pronunciation guide before the race. So
I've just listened to Peter do it so much, and I'm trying to get it out of my head because he texted me before the race. He said, hey, I know Peter always said this. It's actually Giaquinto. And I go back to my Peter Short pronunciation. By the end of the season, I promise, I'll get Giaquinto down. But we're working on it.
I always say I don't care what they call me, but if they're saying my name, I must be doing something to elicit the attention. And right now, he's got all our attention on that 23 as he's battling with Robert Tripp, David Duran, Phil Scott, and others up here at the front of the pack.
Yeah, Robert Tripp doing a great job in the Hardy's car in the outside lane, going to pick up the race lead that time around. No, he actually didn't. David Duran had him at the line. I thought the 35 had the nose in front. That outside lane, better this run at getting formed up. There's more cars up there than there has been. And you see J.D. Laird lurking back a little bit behind those 4 cars in the outside, trying to work his way up to the front. Right now, Robert Tripp needs a push from Bob Giaquinto in the number 23 machine, the Tabletop Trio car, because that inside lane is just doing a good job keeping the shorter distance around the track. And sliding up this time is David Duran. Gets in front of the 35, and I think I said it when JD was up at the front. I'll say it again. I think it's very important for someone to stay in front of that outside lane, just because it can have such a surge of momentum at any given time. You want to cover that off if you're the race leader. And right now, Philip Scott falling back a little bit. That was a good move there from David Duran, because that inside lane kind of falling back now.
David Duran is a very talented plate racer. He's a very talented racer in general, but I ran Super Speedway Series here when FRN was doing our broadcasting in our league. And no surprise seeing him up front. And he definitely has the skill level to work that outside lane and keep it behind him. But Robert Tripp is putting up a tremendous fight. That 3-month hiatus for Robert Tripp, he must have learned some new tricks, because he's showing them all off tonight and making me proud here in Atlanta.
Yeah, Bob Giaquinto following him along there as well. Up the inside lane, Robert Tripp, nice pull down, got the run on David Duran, cleared for the race lead. So move that 35 back up front. Like you said, he's racing right now. That's, I think, one of the most aggressive moves we've seen tonight. He's pulled a couple of them off really well out here to race. It's Jamar Dumas losing that lap he gained under the caution. Now Duran gets the run back in the outside lane. Robert did a good job getting to the lead. He really needs help from Bob, though, in that 23 to get to his bumper, because Tristan doing a good job of pushing the 24 of David Duran around the outside lane. They need to get the same thing going in the inside if they want to keep that lead they just had.
Yeah, we see everyone forming their alliances, their lanes here. It seems like there's, like you said, there's more organization up there on the top, but I keep going back to what you said about blocking that top lane, and I'm waiting for two guys that are familiar with each other, teammates type, whether it's the 47, the 51, maybe the 99. Just hold both lanes here coming towards the end and just make guys make stupid moves to get around them. I'm still waiting for that, and I think it's going to be possible here if we get two cars, and I'll point out when I think they're the correct two, get to the front and make that happen.
That takes a lot of coordination to get to work together. I've seen it pulled off. I've been the guy behind that before, and it's very frustrating. I think I remember once back when I was racing, I think Chris Darling and Ben Mashburn did that to me at Daytona once. It was the most frustrating thing to have to run behind them because I couldn't take it 3 wide just because there was nowhere to go. Someone smoked off the outside wall. Don't know
That
where.
Rod?
Yeah. Just pushing it hard, trying to get all that momentum off the corner, but he's sitting back there lurking, not quite up with the leaders, but I'm watching Matthew Rodriguez and J.D. Laird here, Garrett. Those two, we've talked about it. They know what they're doing. They're sitting back here lined up with each other, just kind of waiting their time. 20 laps to go. I think these two are going to make a charge up to the front here in the next 10 laps or so.
No doubt, Mitchell. And if J.D. Laird isn't leading this race, there has to be some reason for it. Him being that far back in the pack, he might be waiting for the big one to happen. He might not have liked what he saw. So just keep an eye out. He's going to pick these guys up one by one. I would not be surprised to see him leading that outside lane here within a couple laps.
Right now, leading the outside lane is the 47 of Mike Floppy Tellier, pushed by Matthew Rodriguez. Just as soon as we talked about, I'm starting to move back up toward the front as the field's really migrated down to the inside lane. We had a lot more cars just jump down there. The 17, 24 both jump to the inside lane. And that leaves it open. If I'm Thuggy, I'm thinking about jumping up, and Mike goes down, trying to sniff some draft, I think. I don't think he wants to stay down there right now. He's just trying to build up some momentum in the outside lane, but he has no help out there right now. It's more difficult to side draft your way to the lead in the outside lane than it is the inside lane. Because in the outside lane, you got to go the longer way around the racetrack, and you have no help doing it. And there goes the 17 up into the outside lane. I think that's a good move because I like the speed that outside lane has been able to carry. But now Mike goes back to the inside lane, and Tristan's up there all by himself.
I'm absolutely shocked that those two guys did not work together, Mike and Tristan. There must be a reason. Maybe Mike wants to
Mike
be
wanted to lead, yeah.
So I expected when the 51 was pushing the 47, those guys to get lane control, and Matt had a little bit of a contact at the outside wall there. I don't know if his car is up to speed as much as it needs to be to do that. So I'm going to watch the 47 here once he clears the 24 if he takes control of that bottom lane and Tristan stays on the outside.
Yeah, right now you've got 3 very good drivers working the outside lane, 4 good drivers working the inside as well. David Durand, he's been up front quite a bit in both lanes, but right now that inside lane, you see there's just more gaps between those cars than there is in the outside. In the outside lane, they're much closer together. They're doing a better job keeping the momentum up by doing that, and that's giving them a little advantage over the inside lane. There's just more spacing than I think they'd like to have. And we're getting to the point in the race, Garrett, coming to 15 laps to go this time by. You don't have as much time to just lay around and play it safe. Now's the time you've got to start thinking about working your way up toward the front so that you can make that move when the white flag comes out.
Absolutely. You're like Steven Doziak at the bar. 2 o'clock in the morning's coming. You might want a girl that's 250 pounds to take home, but there's only one that's 200 pounds, so that's the one you're going with. And right now, whoever you're closest to, that's your friend. If you could organize and coordinate, great. If not, too bad. You got to get to the front, and it's almost go time. I usually wait till about 10 to go, Mitchell, but I can see these guys now are starting to form up, and you got what you got, so make it work for you.
I always like, with about 20 to go, I wanted to be inside the top 10. Because I don't like to have to rush my way up to the front. And by the time we hit 10 to go, that's when I start to try and make my moves and get working with people. Because this is the point in the race, you've got to be up toward the front. You've got Phillips still laying back, Matt White laying back toward the back, Jake Bustos, J.D. Laird. These drivers still not quite wanting to make their move, and with how spread out the field has been, they're more open to that. You see, it's still not a lot of formation up in the outside lane as Robert Tripp almost makes contact with Mike Tellier.
Scared the crap out of me, Mitchell, to be honest with you. I'm watching that as you're talking. Like, oh man, if he took Mike out, that would have been chaos.
It faded up the track just a little too much, almost a little too much, and he did it again in 3 and 4. I think he just likes to let that car breathe a little bit, trying to get the clean air on the nose. You see a push, big push coming. Tristan Maher got to the bumper of Mike Tellier, really shot Tellier forward here, and again Robert Tripp going up the track just a little bit. I think that time Mike went up a little higher, playing it safe. But oh, Tristan got loose down the back straightaway. Big contact, and they are wrecking into turn number 3. Caution flag flies. Tristan Maher takes a big hit to the outside lane. I believe Steven Doziak as well got caught up in that one. But we'll go take a look back at that on our World Racing Network replay.
Yeah, we kind of saw that coming, Mitchell. It's just a matter of who was going to get involved in it. Tristan giving Mike a little bit of a shove there. Chain reaction. I think the 51 got into the 17, just as it's not intentional. I'm just saying as a little bit of a chain reaction, and that seems to be what started it. But we'll take a second look at it here before I prove myself wrong again.
We'll go on board with the 51 of Matthew Rodriguez, because I think you're right. I think, yeah, you see just the contact. And I mean, that wasn't a bad push. He just came up on the 17 of Tristan Maher so fast that that car didn't have time to really stabilize after the push, and he went around. And unfortunately for Doze, he got a big chunk of that as well. In that 55 machine, you see the rear end really crumpled up for Steven Doziak. Tristan Maher as well was running up front. That car actually doesn't look that bad. I have a hard time imagining there's not more damage than what we're seeing on board Tristan's car.
We'll see how long his pit stop is. That'll be a good indicator of how much damage he ends up getting. But it seems like these guys are all taking advantage of their 3 tire sets, coming in, getting a new fresh set of tires here with less than 10 to go. And now it's really go time, Mitchell. I don't expect anyone to give any space out there, and this is going to be crazy. And Robert Tripp looks like he's going to be leading them off. And wow, Bob, Jake, David Duran's been strong all night. This is anyone's ball game. And I know we say that and from a broadcast perspective, we want everybody to think, oh yeah, my favorite driver could win. Well, guess what? If they're still running and they're on the lead lap, they could win this race.
Yeah, there's some races where we say, man, this is anybody's game. But you know that it's really between like 4 or 5 drivers at the most. But Atlanta is truly one of those tracks. We have 13 drivers on the lead lap right now. Any one of them could go win this race. Of course, with a caution, well, I take that back. Jamar's sadly probably not going to win the race, but speaking of 13 cars on the lead lap, it's a great reminder that Bill Edwards is the recipient of the Tabletop Trio Lucky Dog Award under this caution flag, getting back on the lead lap just in time for the final push to the end. We're going to restart with just under 10 laps to go, and Bill Edwards going to be in a good spot when we do it.
Yeah, Bill. Lucky break, man. Get back on the lead lap there, and you're going to be behind all the chaos. So if something happens in front of you, maybe get yourself a good finish. See, sometimes good things happen, Mitchell, when you're a lap down. I know you've never been a lap down, but as someone who's routinely a lap down, sometimes it keeps you out of harm's way, and it turns out for the best. But Bill's got a chance at this, that's for sure.
I've been very impressed with the performance of Robert Tripp here. We didn't talk about him much at all in the first half of the race, but come lap 50 onwards, Robert Tripp has been up here consistently in the race lead. He's going to restart with the lead. Pace car lights are out, so we're going green this time. He's got Bob Giaquinto on the inside lane pushing him. Bob also, we didn't talk about him much in the first half of the race. You can say that about Jake Bustos too. A lot of drivers, Vinny Valvano right behind him. A lot of guys peaking right at the right time here to get themselves up in contention to take home the win in the season opener. This is one of those races, Garrett, you really want to win the first race of the season because immediately you are labeled as a contender and you're the guy who opened the season with a win. Every single driver in this field wants that distinction.
Absolutely, and there's a couple of these guys, let's not kid ourselves, that believe that this, Daytona and Talladega, are their only real shots to win a race this season. You're this close, whether you're Robert Tripp, Bob. I'm not singling these guys out because they're not capable of winning anywhere else, but I'm just saying from historical standpoint, these guys aren't in contention every week. Now's your chance. Win this and don't let anyone pass you. You're Robert Tripp, you might have too big of a lead here, and now we're going to see if Bob checks up and what happens behind him.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm really worried about the start Robert Tripp got, but I think he's going to manage to be okay. Bob going to play patient with him, settles in behind him. But Jake Bustos, though, in the outside lane, he is up to the race lead. Vinny Valvano and Mike Tellier back in the pack. Almost had a little bit of a tangle, almost went around in there. Robert Tripp has a moment. He is sliding through the inside of turns 1 and 2, going to keep it straight. But that put him in a position, he needs a caution. Now that took him out of contention, unfortunately. He's having such a good run here. But just a little bit loose up the inside, and Robert Tripp, just like that, drops through the field.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see the 35 Robert Tripp. You're having a tremendous run, and don't give up, though. If something happens here, you're right back in this, and you might be safe from back there, as stupid as that sounds. But Matt White looking for the lead here under David Duran. Jake Bustos up in a familiar third spot, looking for his second place, which seems to be like his safe space, if you will.
I'm watching the 23 of Bob Giaquinto. He could have a massive run. He laid back, got a push from Mike Tellier, but I think he checked it up again and is going to fall in line here behind the 24. I was looking for him to have a massive run. Same thing from Mike. I'm surprised he didn't make a crazy aggressive move when he got to Bob's bumper, because those guys were laying back, sucking up that draft, but not really going to do anything with it. David Duran, the only car in the outside lane. It is all Matt White at the front of the field. Jake Bustos, though, moving to the outside lane. Anybody going to go with him? Yeah, the 47 of Mike Tellier moves up. Duran still in the outside lane. Just like that. And Bill Edwards there, too. A lot of cars moving to the outside lane, which is 4 laps to go in the Tabletop Trio 150. Who's going to win the first race of the season right now? It's Jake Bustos out in the lead in the outside lane. And I like where he's at right now. Has the lead, has a good pusher. David Duran, also a good pusher, been up front a lot of the race, right behind him. And that outside lane just seems to be the place to be. But there's still 3 laps to go for Jake Bustos. Matt White no longer with any help. Not Maher. Tellier jumps down to the inside lane. He's going to get the nose in front into turn 1. Jake Bustos still trying to fight back on the outside.
2 TNR originals. Well, Jake Bustos also a TNR original, but working together on the inside lane. Mike Tellier and Jake Bustos, 2 guys who are known for being the bridesmaids out there, not winning the race, and they're leading their respective lanes here, coming the couple laps to go. And I could not be more excited. And you know, if Bob pulls this off in the 23, that Tabletop Trio, that Tabletop better be like Bill's Mafia right through the thing this week on there.
2 laps to go at Atlanta, and it is Mike Tellier with the nose in front of Jake Bustos, but Bustos not going away. Down the back straightaway. A lot more cars in the inside lane, but they are drafting hard again into turn 3, almost making contact. Side drafting with all they've got. Coming to the white flag. 1 lap to go in the Tabletop Trio 150. At the line, it was Mike Tellier by 8/1000ths of a second, but Jake Bustos with the nose in front into turn number 1. And side by side as they head down the back straightaway, Tellier noses in front.
Wow, what a race. Mike's doing a tremendous job holding him off, and he's creeping to the outside lane, and that's going to open the door for the 48 of Matt White down the bottom. And Matt White's going to have the run here coming to the flag, Mitchell.
Tellier opened the door for Matt White, but he gets a push from Bustos down the front straightaway at the line. It is Mike Tellier.
Wow.
Picking up the season opener. I thought he threw it away to Matt White in turns 3 and 4. White got out to the lead, but Tellier gets the push from Jake Bustos, and he will win the season opener in the Tabletop Trio 150. What a race, Garrett, to open up the season.
What a race, Mitchell, and I was glad to be with you. Mike, Floppy, you had my heart. It's pounding there. I thought you made the wrong move, but who am I to tell you what's the wrong move? You're the Canadian Dale Earnhardt, and you deserve this win, buddy. Burn it down.
It was a great race from Mike Tellier. You and me were both in the same boat. I thought he threw that race away when he jumped up to the outside lane, and Matt White had a massive run on the inside. But he gets it done. Just an incredible finish. Great heads-up driving from Floppy. We're going to get your post-race interviews lined. Oh, Tristan Maher. A little congratulatory nudge. Like we were saying, though, your post-race interviews, we're going to talk with Mike, your race winner, also Matt White, and Matthew Rodriguez, your 1, 2, 3 finishers.
How did Rodriguez creep up there? What the heck?
Yeah, I don't know. And here comes Bill Edwards on the driver's side door. And around, but big congratulations, Mike Tellier. I mean, we can't say enough. A lot of drivers came so close. Jake Bustos, heartbreakingly close to getting that win. I mean, I thought he had it there, was in great position, but then Floppy made that great move to the inside lane there with a couple laps to go, took it away from him, but Bustos comes home fourth. It was also a great run from him.
Yeah, a lot of great runs out there, Mitchell. And these guys started off the season with a great race. Our first broadcast here on WRN was absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to hear about this experience at Atlanta and what this felt like and what this meant to some of these guys being back in these GNS cars. So I look forward to our top 3 interviews here in a minute or two.
Yep, we're getting things all situated for the WRN post-race show. We're going to kick things off talking with Matthew Rodriguez here. We'll pull him up into the booth. Here, make sure we've got him here. Let's see. Matthew Rodriguez is Mitchell and Garrett up in the TNR World Racing Network booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
It was quite the race out there. You had a solid night yourself here. Saw you up at the front, and then you kind of went back to the back for a little bit, but then you came back up here to the front. Just kind of take us through your night here and what led you to the top 3 finish.
It wasn't the cleanest night, in my opinion. Like, I know I put Matt 3 wide earlier, and I didn't realize they were almost 4 wide. I thought, oh, we were in front of Mike, so he can just slide up in front of Mike. We all good to go. And I kind of caused that incident. And then ended up racing along. For some reason, we kind of lost the back end of the tires and slid into turn 1. Kind of bounced off the wall, rode around for a little bit. Got that all fixed, came back, and then I ran over Tristan when he was checking up for Mike, and I just didn't realize, and I ran him over, and that had us more damage, so I went back, got more damage fixed, and kind of came back again. I'm shocked that I got the result I did. Enough dents in this car.
Well, you had a good start to the season. Trying to see where you started the race from 6th place. So you had a solid car here all night long. I've talked about it with Garrett throughout the race. I've seen you do very well in this style of track, and tonight for you, no different. I know you like these super speedways. You had a lot of success here. Just take us through what it takes to be successful at a track like Atlanta, because it's so unique here, being a 1.5 mile super speedway.
I'll echo some statements through the field where it's this is the only super speedway, or I guess quote unquote super speedway track I've never ran or I've never won on. I just haven't had success here. I don't know how to really conquer it. They say that it has 3 to 4 lanes, but realistically it's about 2.5 lanes, because once you push that 3rd lane on the top or 3rd lane on the bottom, I mean, you're just kind of asking for a wreck at that point. Atlanta, it's unfortunate. This track, it's really just kind of planning your strategy right and then just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping everything falls right.
Everything seemed to fall right for you at the end. I know overall it might not have been quite the night you wanted, but you got the finish to back it up. Here, and again, looking at the schedule. We've got a good season lined up, a good group of tracks here for this season of the Grand National Series. Next week is Phoenix. It's quite a bit different from Atlanta. How do you feel about going out to the desert?
Phoenix was one of those tracks where I used to hate it, but I've slowly kind of gained a little bit of a fondness for Phoenix. So hoping that next week's gonna be a lot better of a week where I don't hit as many cars.
Well, we're looking forward to Phoenix. Phoenix is one of my favorite tracks. Before I let you go, though, give you a chance to give some shout-outs to anybody you'd like to.
Obviously, I'd like to give a shout out to Matt White. I mean, even after that kind of earlier incident, he managed to bounce back to second place, which was really impressive. And obviously, Mike. I mean, it's nice to see Mike in victory lane again, especially at super speedways where I don't want to put a jab at him, but it's typically he finishes behind me because he's the one pushing me. So it's nice to see him get a win for once.
Yeah, well, certainly glad to have you up here in the booth. Thanks for chatting with us, and good luck to you next week at Phoenix.
Oh, you as well. Thank you.
That was your third place finisher here tonight, Matthew Rodriguez. I believe Garrett Gleason caught up with tonight's second place finisher, Mike Tellier. Or excuse me, Matt White.
Hey, Matt White. It's like a reunion every time we talk, but it was nice having you here tonight. Ended up finishing second. You showed your dominance a little bit earlier in the race, especially running with J.D. Laird there up at the front. Just give us a little bit of a breakdown of what you saw out there tonight, how the track drove, and how you felt being at this configuration of Atlanta.
Yeah. First, I want to thank everybody here at TNR. It's fun to come here and race every chance I get the chance to. Like all drivers, the new configuration I think is kind of much to be desired. But I knew like going in just to kind of save tires and kind of stay in the back. An initial start there, I just couldn't get to the back, so we were just like, oh, we'll ride it out. And then that incident happened there. Got into JD a little bit and turned down into I forget the driver's name, but and it caused an accident there, and it played out pretty good, I guess, at the end there. I mean, it was pretty fun. Just kind of bided my time, and here we are, second.
Yeah, second place. I mean, it's a good point start. Don't know if you'll be here for the full season. I certainly hope you are. It's always a pleasure having you. But anything you wish you could have done differently there at the end to get the win, or you think you're pretty much going to be along for the ride there, following somebody or another?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else I could have done there. I just, turned the car down. I was just trying to, it was a juxtaposition, who's got the run, who doesn't. They broke up on the outside, so when they did that, I would kind of lead down there to get underneath Floppy there, and I was hoping I could get past him, and he was able just to hold onto my right rear, and, those two got a run, and, that's what it is, and glad for him that he got the win, and, I don't think I could have done it any better, to be honest with you.
Well, you saying that, but just to reiterate the point Mitchell and I were making as it happened live, when he gave you the bottom, not saying he gave it to you for any reason, but when you saw that opening, did you think this is my race to lose now?
Yeah, honestly, going in there, I was like, okay, well, I saw that they broke up. I was like, okay, going right to the bottom. I lifted for a tenth of a second and just matted the thing down, and and then once he got to my side, I was like, oh, I'm going to clear him, and then he didn't clear exactly, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, well, if they hit each other wrong, I'm still good, but they were able to get connected good, and yeah, but once I put it to the floor on the bottom, I was like, yep, that's it, that's my race to lose, yep.
See, Mitchell, we weren't making stuff up as we went along, so that's a good thing, but headed to Phoenix next week. I know you've raced for years and years. Just for our viewers, what's the secret to being fast at Phoenix?
Slow and fast out. I think this car especially it's all about saving and just really managing your exit off. I mean, really that's the benefit of this car is it's just nice and smooth, slow in, fast out. I don't think you do Phoenix any other way.
Well, something to look forward to. Keep an eye on for next week. But before we let you go, any shout-outs you'd like to give? Because I'm sure you want to get down there and celebrate with Mike in Victory Lane as well.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank Ripple for being on the car. They have sim products for flight sims. Want to thank Nitro Racing, obviously, and then all the promoters and you and TNR. I mean, let us come here and race every week.
Well, Thanks, man. It was nice having you, and I hope you're back for the majority of the season, if not the full thing. So, congratulations on second place. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you so much, Garrett, and I look forward to next week.
All right, I believe with that being said, Mitchell is caught up with the 47, and my dear friend and someone who's taught me everything he knows except how to win races, Mike Tellier.
Yeah, I'm down here in victory lane with Mike Tellier. First of all, Mike, congratulations on winning the season opener here. I'm sure this is how you wanted to get your 2023 season kicked off.
Oh, absolutely. First off, I'd like to say Happy New Year from Victory Lane.
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
New number and new floppy, huh? With the new year?
I mean, I guess I have no idea where this came from. I really don't know. I got lucky and was able to stay up front all race long and kind of avoid, the incidents. Like I was not expecting this, and then coming into turn 3, Matt White. I don't know if he had like super slicks on or what, but he stuck that car in the bottom. Like I thought I was done for, and then luckily I think David was pushing Jake, and they split up somehow. I don't know, and I got lucky that Bustos pushed me enough that I could side drop Matt and slingshot by for the win. That was a great finish.
Yeah, it was a great finish, and me and Garrett, we talked about it live. We were really worried when you went up to that outside lane and Matt White went up the inside lane. We kind of thought that you didn't have the momentum to get it, but you got a great run to the finish line working with Jake Bustos there. I think he gave you a great shot. Was running up at the front like this your strategy coming into tonight? Because we saw a lot of you up at the front of the pack here.
I was actually like thinking of just slow qualifying it like I normally do, and riding in the back, and then I guess I forgot because I started like P3 or something like that, and I was like, I guess I gotta stay up here now, and then it was just ride and save tires because I knew after a long run, your right front would be gone. So I don't know. I guess it wasn't really an aggressive. I want to stay up front race. I just think there's a lot more tire wear here. It's not really as super speedway-y as people want it to be or think it is. So the guys who pushed it early would slide back. They'd lose like a little bit of time and not be able to stay up front. So I was literally just saving my stuff, riding where I was, and I got lucky. I pit there with that last caution. I like lap 90 or something, took fresh tires and just stuck it to the floor from there on out, knowing that my tires wouldn't wear out by the end.
Yeah, you did a great job managing the race, and we saw drivers struggle with handling. We kind of made a note of that, more so than I expected, so I probably would have been one of the ones struggling out there tonight. Looking at Phoenix, it's a very different beast next week. Are you optimistic maybe we could see a back-to-back open to the season for you?
I'm just glad I'm here this time. But the back-to-back, that's a stretch. I do like Phoenix. It is one of my favorite tracks, but with the amount of skill in this field, the lineup we have, I'm pretty sure this might be my only one of the season, and I'm glad I got one.
You gotta be optimistic. Maybe, a lot can happen. It's a long season.
It is a long season, and if luck changes and I get another one, then I'll be glad to come back and talk to you guys. But like I said, I'm just gonna celebrate this one because it's been like 4 seasons since the last time I've been up here talking to you guys in Victory Lane. So I'll celebrate this one for what it is, and if another one comes, then awesome. If not, I'm gonna party hard.
Mike, these kids, they don't get it. When you get as old as we are, you don't take anything for granted. You win a race, it could be once every 5 years. Mitchell's used to winning races once every other day, so he doesn't appreciate it as much. But when you have dry spells in racing and in life, you appreciate the little victories you get.
Oh, absolutely. I have more wins in a truck that has to turn left and right than I do on this oval stuff, and I'm someone who says I can't turn right. So, I mean, it's just the field that we have here, the clean racing that we tend to get. I love racing down TNR. I wish we had more people here.
Well, we're very glad to talk to you, Mike. Again, a great race. Congratulations on the win. Before I let you go celebrate more, I'll give you a chance to give some shout-outs to anybody watching or any sponsors you have.
Well, not necessarily my sponsors, but you guys here at World Racing Network for broadcasting. It's always a pleasure. Tabletop Trio for sponsoring the race. Jason Schue at Schue Lawn Service for sponsoring the series. Let's see, Simrap Market for being on my car. Alan Elwood for painting it. Sky Motorsports for allowing me to be on the team. Matt Rod for showing up and supporting me, being teammates. So, just the little things.
Yeah, well, again, congratulations on your great run. We're looking forward to watching you next week. Maybe get a top 3 or a win, and then we'll get to talk to you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
And that will conclude our post-race interviews. That was tonight's race winner, Mike Floppy Tellier. And Garrett, like we said, tonight was a great race, a great opening to the season. A lot of great racing. A lot of different drivers got up into the lead too, which is something you love to see.
Yeah, you like to see that competitive balance, and I love seeing my brother and somebody I've known for, I don't know, 20 years win the opening race of the year, because I know it means so much to him. He's TNR through and through, and obviously a league administrator and somebody that helps with the day-to-day, and could not be happier with the outcome here for our first race on WRN Tabletop Trio 150 in Atlanta, and working with you. Just, if this is what's to come this season, tell your friends, get them here at TNR. We're going to put on some good shows week after week, and this is what to expect.
Yeah, like you said, a great start to the season. We've got a great schedule of races here for this season. We'll take a quick look at some of those races. We talked about Phoenix coming up. We have Auto Club, which is a personal favorite of mine. Again, I love Phoenix and Auto Club, and Kansas after that. We've got some great tracks coming up. I know we've got some road course events coming up too. Occasionally, it's going to be a fun season. I'm looking forward to having it here on WRN.
Yeah, hey, if this is the first step in the right direction here as a league, a nice, mostly clean race. I mean, some little stuff happened. That's to be expected at super speedway races. So, looking forward to Phoenix next week, a bit of a different animal, and I know these guys will put on a good show, have a nice competitive race here, and I hope everyone tunes back in at 8:10 Eastern next week.
Yep. And I can't forget to take you through your finishing order from tonight's race. It was the 47 of Mike Floppy Tellier picking up tonight's race win. Matt White finishes in second, Matthew Rodriguez third. Then outside of the podium, it was Jake Bustos in fourth place. Vinny Valvano had a nice top 5 finish to start off his season. Bob Giaquinto finishes in sixth, the good running for the Tabletop Trio machine. Bill Edwards finishes in seventh. David Duran, not the result he wanted, in eighth after being up at the front so much tonight. Philip Scott comes home ninth. J.D. Laird also not quite where he wanted to be, in 10th place tonight. Robert Tripp in 11th place. He also, another one. It seems like so many of these drivers down here, Garrett, they were up at the front for quite a bit of it, and it just kind of fell off. Tristan Maher again in 12th. Another one. Jamar Dumas in 13th. Stephen Doziak 14th. Jason Schue 15th. And then the one and only Garrett Gleason rounds out the field, 101 laps down.
Well, if I was out there, I might have finished 98 laps down, so I guess pretty close to, and much easier on everybody else with me up in the booth here on the Harm's Way.
It was a very good race tonight. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Next week, on Monday, we will be back live at Phoenix with another edition of the TNR Grand National Series, sponsored by Schue Lawn Service. Want to give a big thank you to Schue Lawn Service for being the title series sponsor this season. Also, Tabletop Trio for sponsoring tonight's race, and Stay Tuned Sports as well helps out with the Total Nonstop Racing League. For all of us at the World Racing Network, myself, Mitchell Adams, my broadcast partner, Garrett Gleason, we look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you next time.